All right, we are now live on Facebook. We're in my group, Just Digital Growth. Thank you, Jenny, for joining me today. Thank you for your time. I'm really glad to have Jenny here today. She is a coach and program creator of an amazing course called Emotional Mastery. I've had the privilege of going through some of that course, and it is really something special. Jenny's actually here in Thailand, where I am. She's actually in Copenhagen, where I'm in Chiang Mai. And it's just really amazing that we've been able to connect and work on some things together. So, Jenny, since we're both here in Thailand, maybe just starting out, like, how did you end up in Thailand and where are you from originally?
It's always a great story when you ask that question of someone who's in Thailand who's not Thai.
Yeah.
So originally I set off from Australia to go traveling, for like to be resident nowhere for 5 years with my partner. And the first place we stopped off was Malaysia to do a Vipassana retreat. And when we came out of that, we met somebody who'd just been 3 months doing Vipassana in Burma. So like someone we really resonated with, obviously, who said, oh, there's this yoga school on this island in Thailand. You got to go. So we went and really liked the island. And so we've been back, like we were coming back every year for, at least half the year, basically, since then. And then when COVID came along and we had to decide whether to get stranded somewhere or go back to Australia, we decided this was a really good place to be stranded.
Yeah, yeah. You made a good choice. We've swapped stories before, and I shared how for COVID, I was stuck in America for 9 months, and that was not so good. So I definitely think you made the right choice in regards to where you want to be stranded. Thailand's not a bad place to be. I was also talking with someone yesterday how if you're looking to do some personal growth and self-discovery, going abroad is not a bad idea. And also possibly going to Thailand is not a bad idea either. So going back to talking about emotional mastery, which is why, again, I'm so glad to have you here to talk a little bit about that. What exactly is this emotional mastery course program that you're bringing to the world? What is it all about?
Well, basically, it's a compilation of the stuff that I've been teaching people that really works, that I found myself explaining over and over and over to people. And in the end, I decided, you know what, it'd be much easier if I just made like a video of this explanation, and then people didn't have to pay me in a session to explain it to them, personally. I could give them the video to watch between sessions and we could actually do the work in the sessions. So part of what I do is I really explain to people the mechanism, how the physiology works, how the neurology works, how it all hangs together, and why you need to do certain practices that I give them to do as homework instead of just going, do this. Because I'm the kind of person who always wants the explanation. I want to know the science behind it. I have absolutely no patience with the woo of, just put your crystals in this arrangement and your chakras will realign. Like, no, I want the science. And
Yeah.
so my clients tend to be that kind of people too, right? They want the science, they want the facts, they want, this is how it works. And once they have a good, solid scientific explanation for why they're going to do this strange sounding thing, they're happy to do the strange sounding thing, So
Mhm.
that's where it came from. I had stuff that I had figured out myself from my own experience recovering from burnout, to
Mm.
how to rewire the nervous system, how to get your emotional system actually working the way it's designed to work. And it was the easiest way for me to transmit it to other people. And once, of course, I had a bunch of stuff in a video form, I was like, well, why should I limit this just to people who can physically come and talk to me here in Thailand on this little island? Like, there's about, 3,000 foreigners on this island. Like, so, why should I limit this to 3,000 people who could actually get to talk to me when I could make it into an online course and people could get the conversations via Zoom, and then people anywhere in the world can also get the benefit of this. So that was the progression that it went through.
Yeah, that's a really good story, right? And it connects with what I'm doing here with this group and how I'm trying to help individuals, where I feel people have lots of value to share with people all over the world. And sometimes those offers have been just provided in person just for practicality. But the reach is limited, right? So helping people just really expand the reach of their mission, of their story, of their offer, that can help so many individuals. And as someone who was reluctant to go through part of the emotional mastery course, it's interesting to hear you describe it that way, because when I first heard about it, I thought it was very woo-woo and mystical and like emotional mastery. What is this all about? I think there's going to be a benefit, but I'm not sure. But as I began to go through the course content, as I began to have coaching sessions, it is really scientific and it is really well explained. I just thought, wow, this is really well done. And it even explained emotions and the nervous system in ways that I had never even thought about before. And it was just so practical. It was very practical. One thing I often say to my audience is the importance of stories, right? So you're talking a little bit about this burnout that you had and how that was the catalyst for you trying to figure out how to deal with your own emotions and your own nervous system better. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what was that burnout from? Was it a long time coming? Were there particular events where you realized that, hey, I got to make a change for myself?
Well, I mean, in one sense, it was a lifetime coming,
Mm,
because when I really looked into it, I actually realized that I've basically always been like a full-on go, go, go person. I threw myself into, my studies. I threw myself into everything I did. Like, if I wasn't going to do it 100%, I wouldn't do it, kind of thing. So I was always really, really busy, and people used to say, I don't know how you get all of these things done. Um, what I didn't realize was that I was burning through my body's reserves. I was functioning in a way that the human body is not designed to function long term.
mm,
And
mhm,
when you're young, you can get away with that. When you're in your teens, when you're in your 20s, you can have very little sleep and you can eat terribly and you can still like power on and be productive and get stuff done. But it catches up with you at some point. So in that sense, it was a lifetime coming. It was like the whole of my
mm,
life I'd been
mm,
this go, go, go. I thought it was a virtue, all right? I thought I was just not as lazy as everybody else, right? I didn't realize that I was doing something that the human system isn't designed to do in the long term.
mm, mhm,
And I've found actually since this happened to me, it's happened to a lot of people. It's actually
mhm,
encouraged and celebrated in our culture to operate in this high-powered go, go, go
mm,
type A
yeah,
unsustainable mode.
mhm,
So I have had, I don't know how many people now that I've dealt with who've had either already burned out or on the verge of burning out because they operate in this way. So what happened to me, my first warning sign was when a friend of mine checked herself into rehab. She'd finally realized that she had to get off alcohol, and her health was at stake, her life was at stake, basically. And I remember going to see her on her first day there and having this kind of flash of envy. Like,
mm,
I wish I could have 3 weeks off to do nothing but rethink my life.
mhm,
And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me. It was like, there must be something wrong with my life if I am envying somebody who's just going into rehab.
mhm,
But
yeah,
it really seemed unfair to me in a sense. Like, if I actually was an alcoholic or an addict or something, then I could go to rehab. But because ultimately I was a workaholic rather than an
right,
alcoholic, there's no rehab for that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I had no socially acceptable excuse and no health insurance cover to
mhm,
spend 3 weeks doing therapy every day, and like it was just not possible, right? Um, but I did promise myself that I wouldn't do anything else just for money anymore, that I would figure out something that was,
mhm,
from the heart. And then someone offered me an 8-week gig filling in for a manager who'd got sick somewhere. I thought, oh, 8 weeks, all right, I'll do 8 weeks. But turned out that that guy was a complete shambles, couldn't come back. They laid him off, early retirement. And then I was stuck there until they found a replacement, which ended up being over a year. And by the time that year was over, I was burned out.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the warning. I did not listen to the warning.
I see. Yeah.
And that was, yeah. And there were, you know, some acute stressful things right at the time, like I can pinpoint almost to the day when it happened. But ultimately it was the whole build-up that got me there, not the precipitating event.
Right. I see. Can I ask, how old were you when this burnout happened? Because you said, you know, you weren't as young anymore. When you're young, you have a lot of just go-getter attitude, and you can kind of like sustain this way of operating that's not good for you. But because you're young, you're more resilient. You can take on more, and you think that you can just do it, but really you're just not in tune with what is good for your body as much as you are when you're older.
Yeah, it's
So
like
yeah,
putting everything on the credit card.
yeah,
Like at
which
some
I'm
point the
sure you
bill
tend to
comes
do
due, you know?
also. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was 37 when the bill came due.
I see. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I'm 36 right now. So right now, as someone who is going hard building foundations of his digital business and spending hours, 12 hours a day, sometimes more than that, doing things that he feels necessary to build the business, I think there's some valuable insight that can be provided here for young individuals who might be on the verge of burnout, but hopefully we can provide some strategies, some tips for how to prevent that, right? So let's say there are individuals out there who are in their 30s. The age doesn't really matter, but they're in this mode that you've been in, that I'm in right now. What would you say to these individuals who they get this sort of adrenaline rush from hustling, and they like it? They feel that they're achieving a lot. They feel that they're committing to their vision and their mission. You know, they're helping a lot of individuals. They're getting paid well. And burnout is not anything on the radar. They think it's like some myth, like this burnout thing that happens to some individuals. Like, what is this burnout? Well, that's not going to be me. That's an odd thing. Like, what would you say to individuals who are on the road to possibly experiencing burnout, but don't know it might come?
Well, like that's a tough one because
Yeah.
even if I'm really talking to that person and they really are on the road to burnout, and even if it's less than 2 years away, there is nothing I can say that is going to convince them that they need to change anything. It's part of the burnout thing. Like one of the first signs of burnout is
Mhm.
this belief that the work you're doing is so important that you
Mhm.
can't possibly slow down or take a break or delegate chunks of it to somebody else or like stretch out the deliverable timeline or whatever. Like there's this workaholic kind of system that just keeps you on the hamster wheel, and you don't even realize you're keeping yourself on the hamster wheel. It actually looks like this is just the way the world is. And you can find all the validation you need for that view in all of these success experts who are like, oh, go hard for 3 to 5 years and then you can take the rest of your life off.
Yeah.
You know, but what they don't tell you is that only 1 in 5 businesses makes it past the first
Mm.
5 years, right? So you put 3 to 5 years in and you've got a 1 in 5 chance of having an ongoing business after those 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
And then in the second 5 years, you've got, again, a 1 in 5 chance. So there's a 1 in 25 chance that the first thing you try is going to pay off after that first 3 to 5 year push and become the business that lasts more than a decade. The
Well, those are
other
go ahead.
24 out of 25 times, you're going to have to start over and do another 3 to 5 year push with the same odds.
Mhm. Hello, you there? All right. Something happened to our connection. Let's see here.
Yeah, we think we froze there for a moment.
Okay, we're good. You're back.
Yeah. Sorry, I think that was my internet glitching here. So, you know, this is not terrible. This is just the way it's always been and it always will be, right? But the silver-tongued motivational speakers will try and sell you on the idea that the first shot you take is the shot that's going to land.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whereas the
Yeah.
truth is you're probably going to have to take at least 4 or 5 shots.
Right.
On average,
Yeah.
before you hit something that really pays off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not 3 to 5 years, it's 12 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're doing, you're like, yeah, I can keep this up for 3 to 5 years. Can you keep it up for 12 to 15 years?
Yeah. Wow. So when you said it was a long time coming for you, this feeling of burnout, how many years do you feel you were in this go-getter just mindset of just giving it your all, right? Like, I know you said a lifetime coming, but for how long did you start like working and achieving and helping others? And I believe you were in corporate world before, right? Like how many years of the build up for um, that work, right? Because burnout is often associated with work, right? Like
Yeah.
kids don't get burnout, teenagers don't get burnout. Like how many years were you
Well,
just working? Go ahead.
I would say I was pretty cruisy when I was at university. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really didn't push myself too hard
Mm-hmm.
at university. So it was when I actually hit the workplace, and my first, I had a job for like 18 months before I started my own business, and the boss was like an absolute workaholic, crazy, like narcissistic, push type A, had been director of operations at American Express, blah, blah, blah. And she sat me down one day and she said, now, Jenny, you have to understand, this is not just an 8 till 6 job. You've got to put in more hours than that if you really want to be successful. And at the time, I was training 3 evenings a week because I was in a representative sports team. I was representing Australia. And she was like, and you're going to have to quit that team.
Yeah.
And like, I was so gaslit at this stage that I was like thinking about it, and actually went to my father for advice, which I never do. But I knew that he, like, you know, he had business experience. I was like, this doesn't seem right to me, but am I missing something? And he was like, yeah, no, that's not okay. They shouldn't be telling you that. It's perfectly fine to only work 10 hours a day. That's, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my kind of introduction to the working world. And when I went out on my own, I had all the motivation to work that hard for myself.
Yeah, I think people refer to it as hustle culture, right? That this hustle culture is embraced and encouraged as something very virtuous, as something that you can and should be proud of, similar to the extrovert ideal, where the happy person is not only achieving a lot and is always on the go, they're very loud and boisterous, and they get what they want by being very social, right? So
Yeah.
these different expectations placed on individuals in just day-to-day living that are very, very unhealthy. I think it's quite unfortunate. So for people out there who may be tuning in, who are interested in benefiting from some of these techniques and tips that you're mentioning, what would you say is one that people can practice to just have a little bit of stress and a little less anxiety at any moment, right? Because I know what you're about. I know what the course is. I think it's great. So if you were to provide like one tip or one strategy to individuals who are just hearing us talk now, like, hey, sometimes I do feel stress. Sometimes I do feel anxiety. Sometimes I do feel overwhelmed. What is something I could do to possibly alleviate that or get some of that under control? What would you suggest to them?
Yeah. Well, I would say, look, with all of these things, there's a short-term and a long-term approach, right? So in the short term, there's things you can do to change your physiological state in the moment that work right away. So we have in the program a bunch of what we call emotional first aid techniques. So they're literally, they're not a long-term solution, but in the moment, they will regulate your nervous system and help to bring you back into balance in the moment. They won't fix the cause, but they'll fix the symptoms enough that you can function and do what you need to do. That's absolutely something that I would recommend that everybody learns and masters. Like you want to be in the driver's seat of your own physiology, because if you're not, you're kind of a victim to the flow of circumstances in life. If you get triggered by something and you get overwhelmed, or you get angry, or you get stressed, or whatever, if you don't have the tools to bring yourself back into balance, you can be stuck in that state for hours and just not productive, you know? Or even worse, you think you're productive and then you look back the next day at what you did the day before and you go, oh my Lord, what was I thinking?
Yes, yes. And I believe that we do have the emotional first aid section of the course available for people that are interested to check that out. Is that right?
Yep, totally. We make that available to people at no charge. It's a public service. It's like, I believe literally everybody in the world should have these tools and be able to use them. 100%.
Yes, yes. I can share that portion of the course, the emotional first aid, after this live. I can put the link to it below in the comments. So if you're listening and you're interested in what we're talking about, if you're interested in this emotional first aid, you can check that out. I've tried out some of these strategies, and I believe there are 10 techniques, and they're all really good. I gravitated towards a few more than others. The deep breathing and the tapping for me, I found very beneficial. But I agree that emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, how to cope with emotions is something that is, well, not taught in school. And it should be. And we talked about this before, you and I, Jenny. We talked about how, well, finance should be taught in school, investing, right? Entrepreneurship should be taught in school. How to better regulate your emotions should be taught. Recognizing the emotions of others should be taught. And I was just talking with another individual just yesterday who is a flow coach. And it's interesting because after talking to him, I felt less guilty about allowing myself a break from work, where he said, hey, actually, if you want optimal flow states, you should allow yourself breaks and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. You should take time to get in this recovery state. And I think that actually correlates to what you're talking about here, where the burnout is just forcing yourself into this flow state, forcing yourself to get things done, not realizing that you're not giving yourself the recovery time that it needs.
Yeah, and I will say it's not a flow state if you're forcing yourself into it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an adrenaline state. Flow states are completely different from the push, urgent, I've got to get this done or somebody's going to die kind of feeling. That's not a flow state. Flow states when you're actually having fun and you're playing and things are flowing easily and you don't have to push yourself. You don't have to force yourself to do it.
So when you were saying that you made this decision to leave the corporate world, to never have to do anything for money again if you didn't want to do it, and you began to help people implement the same techniques and strategies that you began to do for yourself, well, you made this awesome program and you began to coach people to overcome burnout or just to overcome whatever negative emotions and feelings and conditions are plaguing their life. Did
I will
you
say it's not usually emotions that people are trying to overcome. It's the stuff they're doing to cope with the emotions that they're trying to overcome. So, you know, that they don't even necessarily realize that there's an emotional driver behind it sometimes, but what they're trying to overcome is, well, I keep like going to the fridge late at night and eating a whole pile of junk that I don't need, or I keep trading my cryptocurrency when I know I should be holding it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Or I'm just scrolling through social media all the time when I should be actually doing productive stuff. Or like, you know, I'm supposed to be posting on social media for my business, but somehow I've spent 3 hours on social media this morning and I haven't made a post yet. So people come to me for procrastination or addictions or compulsive behaviors or conflict and relationship issues, stuff like that. And it turns out that the underlying cause of all these things is an emotional cause. But they don't usually turn up saying, oh, I need to manage my emotions better.
But that's actually what it is.
That's actually the key. And that's the beauty, is it doesn't matter why someone comes to me. If they come to me because they're emotional eating, or they come to me because they're having arguments with their spouse, or they come to me because they can't be productive, once they've learned how to master their emotions, all of those problems are fixed. Like, you have the tools you need to not have any of those problems anymore for the rest of your life in the one program.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned emotional eating, because that was one of mine that I tried to work on when I was going through the course and working with the coach. And I didn't even realize that it was an emotional driver that was causing me to overeat or overindulge. I just thought I was really hungry. I just thought that I was just really enjoying myself. And then the next thing you know, I overeat and I'm uncomfortable and I'm laying on the couch and moaning and groaning. And my wife says, oh, did you overeat again? I said, yeah, I think I did. And then I'll do it again the next week, right? I just couldn't figure out what it is. And what we're talking about, these things that people do over and over again, as someone who's gone through part of the course, it's patterns, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If there's something that keeps happening in your life and you don't want it to be happening, you don't like it, but it keeps happening, and guarantee there is an emotional something underneath there. And if you actually get a grip on your emotions and the tools to manage them, that thing will stop.
That's one thing that I really came to appreciate about this emotional mastery program, the course. And even though it is a program, it's a course, it's an all-in-one thing. The information, I mean, we hope to share as much of it with you all out there as we can. But you know, the bulk of it is in the course. But just the strategies behind it, just breaking negative patterns, unwanted patterns in your life that are not conducive to success or not conducive to happiness or not beneficial to having what you want in your life. Like, when I had that realization, I just thought that, wow, this is something really amazing. Like, even though it's called emotional mastery, there's so much more to it. Or it could be called a variety of different things and it would be very applicable. It could be called, hey, break destructive patterns course, and it would be an accurate name. But emotional mastery I like, because as we've identified, those emotional drivers are the things that cause you to do the things in your life that can be unwanted or possibly destructive or negative. But also, well, let me see if I'm getting this right. Emotions can also drive and motivate individuals to do things that are very positive for their life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, emotions are the only thing that ever motivates anyone to do anything. They're emotions, motion comes from emotion. So it's not about getting rid of emotions or suppressing emotions, but it's about actually learning how to, it's like sailing, right? Like, the wind can blow in any direction, but if you adjust your sail right, you can go where you want to go. And it's the same with emotions. Like, your emotions will do whatever they're doing based on, your history and the circumstances. But if you master your emotions, you can set your sail and you can move through whatever it is and end up where you want to be, regardless of what direction the wind's blowing from along the way.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Yeah. So I've been talking to a lot of individuals in the context of business building, entrepreneurship, affiliate marketing, some people that have shown interest in this emotional mastery program, or have been interested in our emotional mastery affiliate program, where they can go through the program and also market the program as an affiliate. And what I've been hearing from a lot of individuals recently is that they have a hard time getting in touch with their emotions, or their emotions are very overwhelming. Like, it's just two very opposite sides of the spectrum. Overwhelming, there's too much going on, or they just feel like they can't really connect with their emotions. They can't really describe how they're feeling. Maybe they're cut off from it. So what would you say could be a beneficial practice to people that just want to get more in touch with their emotions, for it being overwhelming or for it being just cut off? Or are there different strategies for both? Or is there one strategy that can be used for both of these extreme spectrums?
Well, I would say, first of all, if you have overwhelming emotions, the emotional first aid is for you 100%, because that will allow you to instantly regulate the intensity of those emotions. So everybody that I know who has got the emotional first aid techniques and practiced a couple of them, like pick your favorites and practice them, has been able to get their extreme emotions under control and bring themselves back into a comfortable, normal operating level within a couple of weeks, like just by practicing it. And I'm talking about, I've had people literally saying, I use these techniques to stop panic attacks in their tracks.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
no matter how intense the emotion is, these physiological techniques will work if you practice them enough. On the other hand, if you're somebody who's suppressing emotions and not really consciously aware of them, then the next practice that we have in the course, which we call the emotional pressure release, is actually going to be the most beneficial and rewarding, because that's about teaching people how to drop into a state of relaxation, which gives you more conscious access to the stuff that's happening in your body and in your emotional system that's below the level of everyday conscious awareness. And it will also potentially put you in touch with some emotions that you've been avoiding. So we get you to practice the emotional first aid skills first, so that if you do get in touch with an emotion you've been avoiding, you can manage it and it doesn't get to be too much.
Wow, that's powerful. That's amazing. And again, all of these emotional first aid techniques and strategies that we've just described are available, public access. I'm going to share it after this call. I'm going to share the link so anyone can benefit from that and possibly stop negative emotions and stress and anxiety in its tracks, right? That's amazing. One thing that comes to mind is medication, where people have negative emotions, they have anxiety, they have panic attacks, they take medication. You mentioned a colleague before who checked into rehab because she was just drinking too much alcohol, right? She was an alcoholic. And how do you think what you're looking to share with individuals can do for people who just reach for that medication, their medication of choice, alcohol or whatever it is?
Yeah. So when we're talking medication, we're talking self-medication, not prescription medication, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, actually, we'll talk about both, but
Yeah.
I think there are people who have prescription medication that use it because it is prescribed, but they take it as a sort of a crutch, or they take it as sort of a shortcut to just not dealing with things on their own, right?
Yeah.
Like I can speak for myself because, as someone who has anxiety from time to time, I have a prescription of Xanax. And there are times when I feel anxious and I'll just pop a Xanax because I have it, right? So there is kind of a fine line between prescription and self-medicating, because sometimes you have a prescription to something and you self-medicate because you have it, right? So what I'm getting at though is the potential benefit for something like these emotional mastery techniques to help people in a way where they don't need to self-medicate, and they may not need to self-medicate from their prescription medication. Um, is that
Yeah.
something that you found is part of the clients or the community that is beginning to benefit from your program?
Oh, definitely. And I would say we don't recommend that anybody changes any prescription medication without medical advice, and medical approval. But what I have seen is that once people have learned how to manage their emotions effectively themselves, there is much less urge to self-medicate and much less need for prescription medication, because so much of the self-medication and the prescription medication is people trying to fix emotional stuff that they don't have any other tools to fix. And as soon as you give somebody other tools to fix it, like that don't put the strain on your system that substances do, then people will use those tools in preference. Absolutely, without question. Like the subconscious will use the easiest and healthiest solution to every problem. But
Yeah,
if you don't have a solution that's easy and healthy, they will just grab, their subconscious will grab alcohol or workaholism or
Right.
gambling addiction or
Whatever it is. Yeah.
whatever
Whatever
it
it
is, right? Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Just to get away from that emotion that you can't stand to be with because you don't know how to manage it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's wrap it up. There's a lot of value to share with individuals out there. Even as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, huh, should go back to some of the sections of the course and brush up on some of the things that I was practicing before, but I've kind of slacked off recently. And that's the thing that I really like about the course and the tips and the strategies is that once you learn them, you can use them as needed, right? They're always there. You learn it and you can do it any time. It's not like medication or whatever you're addicted to and you have to like re-up on alcohol, you have to re-up on your supply of Xanax or whatever it is. It's just you have these tools and you have access to them whenever you need them. So with everything that you're working on, what would you say is your mission and your vision? Like, why are you doing this? What are you looking to share with the world?
Well, ultimately, my core mission is to set people free.
Mm.
And this particular area just turns out to be an area where so many people are imprisoned in prison walls they can't even really see. They just feel stuck and trapped. And if I just give people the tools to be able to regulate their own emotions and manage their subconscious and conscious minds to work together, suddenly people are free from the prison that they couldn't even see, but they could feel. And that just by itself is very rewarding to me. Like, that's just what I'm here to do. I'm here to set people free.
That's amazing. That's a very, very authentic mission. And I sense it from you. When you say it, I feel it. That's so beautiful. And I think it's so true. A lot of people say they want more freedom. They say they want the three freedoms, which is the pitch of one of the first high ticket affiliate programs I bought that turned out to be a scam. They're like, hey, get more of the three freedoms. You get more time freedom, more location freedom, um, more financial freedom, right? The three freedoms. And then really, you can get those things. You can have more time. You can have better finances. You can be anywhere, and you're still not free because your emotions are not allowing you to be free. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really powerful statement right there.
Yeah, I've
Let's
coached people with 7 and 8 figure businesses who are like trapped. They just feel trapped.
mhm.
Yeah. And they could theoretically go anywhere in the world, but they don't feel like they can. They could theoretically take 6 months off, but they don't feel like they can. So they don't.
Would you say they are trapped by their emotions and their negative patterns, or is it they're trapped by something else?
No, they're trapped by their own psyche, their own physiology, their own system by not knowing how to drive their own human being.
I see. I see. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to end by asking one question. I've been asking this question because well, I learned it from Tim Ferriss, author of the 4 Hour Work Week. He asked the people on his show this one question. I think it's a fun one. So, if you had one message on a billboard for millions of people to see, what would that one message on the billboard be?
You have everything you need.
It's a good one. I like it. Well,
Yeah. And
Jenny,
if it doesn't seem like it, come and talk to me.
even better. I love it. Yeah, you have everything you need. And if it doesn't feel like it, come talk to Jenny. You can come talk to me. I'll connect you with Jenny. And one thing I've been working on is building an affiliate program for Jenny's emotional mastery course. And wanting to be an affiliate or to build a program for affiliates that I authentically saw value in was really important to me, which is why I went through a majority of the course, not all of it, just enough to see that this is something that really should be shared with individuals. So if you're interested in finding out more about emotional mastery, I'm going to share the link below where you can access the emotional first aid. And even just that can be life-changing. Again, it's free, public access, no cost. If you're interested in going through the complete emotional mastery course, I can share more information about that with you. And if you're interested in joining our movement for the Emotional Mastery Affiliate Program, you can also get in touch with me. And you've heard it straight from Jenny Hale that our mission here with the Emotional Mastery course, the affiliate program, and also with what I do is just to help people have more freedom, right? Jenny is doing it in the context of her course, her program, her mission and vision of promoting emotional mastery. And I'm trying to help people get a little bit more freedom through digital business. So again, thank you so much, Jenny, for joining me. I look forward to working with you more in the future. And let's see if we can help individuals out there get more of the freedom they deserve. Thank you so much.
Thanks for doing what you do, Justin.
Of course.